Yeah.
Hold on, give me 2 seconds.
Just go live. Let her walk into the set.
Run into it.
After this noise has been made, thunder and lightning, somebody's doing
That's
something.
Jeff moving them trash cans or something.
Wow. Yeah, this is where I live, in the hood.
I like this area.
Oh, please. It's definitely not the hood.
Yeah, oh yeah. Let's go live.
We can't see ourselves, right?
All right. Good evening, David, Mr. Sexy Man. How are
That's
you?
me. I'm over here.
Welcome to Island Origins Live, where you can find us, of course, right here on Facebook Live. You can find us in our brand new print magazine. Can we all just show that and how fabulous it is? You can find us, of course, on our website at islandoriginsmag.com and all over the place. So, good evening. Welcome to the show. We are talking today about a very controversial topic. I dubbed Guinness last week the Queen of Controversy.
I'll take that. Thank you.
And what we're talking about is the article that you wrote for this issue of the magazine called The Gentrification of Ganja. And so I want to introduce all of our guests today. Of course, well, host first, Mr. Sexy Man, Mr. David Muir.
I'm here.
How you doing, David?
I'm doing fabulous.
You're looking all bright and yellow tonight.
Thank you. I tried to bring some.
Very sexy.
Yes,
I love
thank
the
you very
heritage
much.
garment.
Very sexy.
I like that. I never heard that.
Heritage garment.
I'm wearing my heritage garment.
Heritage
I like that.
garment.
That works.
All right. So everybody knows Guinness already.
Yes. Right. Okay. Hello, everyone. Great being here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we also have with us attorney Cheryl Murray Powell. There's a whole
Yes.
lot of names.
Thank you.
You
It
did it
is,
right.
isn't it?
Cheryl Murray Powell.
It's a life journey.
There you go. And of course, Dr. Anthony Hall. Now I'm going to introduce everyone and then ask you to just say a little bit more about yourself. So we'll start off with Cheryl Murray Powell, Esquire. We're going to ask the penny section to keep quiet and please take the shoes off of the furniture. Thank you. We have children on set today. So, all right. Is Cheryl Murray Powell is the managing partner at Cheryl Murray Powell, PA, and is general counsel for minorities for medical marijuana. She's co-founder of Kana Headhunters, fascinating stuff, an employment agency for the emerging legal marijuana industry. So please tell us about your business.
First of all, I'm very happy to be here on Island Origins. I have Island Origins.
Of course.
So I am a first generation American, but with Jamaican parents. I have an affinity with the Caribbean and a strong affinity with Jamaica. A lot of my efforts have to do with how we can make sure that the Caribbean gets to take advantage of the stigma that they've endured for so long. I pretty much have two main streams of activity. One is around diversification of the cannabis industry, and the second is around pipelining. So creating opportunities for the next generation and making sure that they're ready for the baton and that we don't have all the work that we do right now as far as diversifying cannabis disappear with the next generation.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm an agricultural and cannabis attorney.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to delve more into the details of what you do. Let's jump on over ladies first. So we're going to allow me to reintroduce myself.
Yes,
my name is
indeed.
G. All right, Ginette G. Wright Muir is an attorney, writer, public speaker, and LGBTQ advocate.
Yes.
She writes a weekly opinion for the Sun Sentinel newspaper and is a contributing writer for our very own Island Origins Magazi. Ginette, would you like to do a quick intro?
Well, I do so many things. I could take all day describing what I do.
Well, for how this
context,
ganja
for the
situation.
context of this, I'd say I like to do a lot of things in terms of like social justice, right? So I would call in this arena, I would say I'm an advocate of Jamaican people, Caribbean people, and being able to play a significant role in what's being called the cannabis industry.
Right. The cannabis industry, yes. Dr. Anthony Hall, the gentleman guest at our table, is a board-certified neurological surgeon who has been practicing for 22 years in Southeast and Central Florida. He is the president of Green Medicine, board-certified doctors providing medical cannabis treatment. Dr. Hall?
Yes, thank you. Greetings again, and blessing to be on Island Origins. A very nice show.
Thank you.
Enjoying it for some time.
Thank you.
So, yes, I'm a neurosurgeon. So I treat brain and spine disorders, peripheral nerve, surgically, and being of Jamaican birth and member of the Rastafari faith, we have a lot of comments come our way regarding what is ganja, where does mystical herb fit into everything. Now, of course, here in America now and worldwide, there's this business of cannabis, and in Jamaica is so established also the business of cannabis or business of ganja. And Rastafari don't want to be left out. So I'm working with several different groups, organizations like Pure Jamaica Island Traders, International House and Ibingi, Green Medicine, Academy of Neurosurgical Physicians, Apollon Medical Formularies, just sitting with them and partnering in different aspects of involving Rastafari in the business, involving Jamaicans in the business, treating patients myself, because I've been treating patients here in Florida for about 4 years, and in Jamaica we're just getting started now. So.
Right. Yeah, so we have a lot to unpack this issue. Thank you all for sharing. So start off with G, who is the boss lady here. All right, so in the current issue of Island Origins Magazine, Gannett Wright Muir and Sonia Morgan explore the gentrification of ganja, and of course we were blown away by that title. Yeah, so controversial and so kind of gripping when you see people looking through it. Now, if you haven't got your copy yet, you can actually go online right now to islandoriginsmag.com, and it's the first thing that you'll see on the website right now. So you can read it on your own time, but right now we want to get into the details of the conversation. So, gentrification of ganja, criminalization for Black Jamaicans, big profits for white Americans. What's the story and how can we capitalize, right? So what does this title mean? What is the gentrification of ganja and how did you come up with that as a story title?
Well, to start with, just about a year ago, I was visiting Seattle and a few months later visiting San Francisco. And for the first time I saw, cafes and, nice, attractive stores that look like Starbucks selling ganja.
Right.
And so myself and Sonia, who co-wrote the article, I was telling her, and I told her quite a few of my friends, like, wow, like Jamaicans would say, like, what's here? I know you don't want to cut but it's like, wow, look at how this can happen here. And in Jamaica, where I was raised, it's something that has been so ostracized and we haven't had opportunity to really benefit. So the gentrification is a concept of like, white folks come in, they take something that we've already been doing, right? And then make it into this beautiful thing and they're like, hey, look at this thing. And then it
that
also
we just discovered.
And then it also becomes something that's hard for us to access. How do we access the industry?
Right.
So that's how we came up. And then I love alliteration. So gentrification of ganja, and it's just so perfect. So and great to write an article with Sonia Morgan. Thank you.
And so they drove when I don't want to talk about the white people, but when people who have more means come in and drive up the value of something to the point where it's now excluded, access is excluded for
really
underrepresented people. Okay, so you write, Forbes magazine recently reported that the legal marijuana industry in the US will create more jobs than manufacturing. It's expected to be worth $50 billion by 2026, 8 times its current size, according to Bloomberg. Your question is, how can Jamaica, the cultural epicenter of marijuana, profit from this multi-billion-dollar cash crop? Dr. Hall, just introduce yourself as Rastafari. So let me put this question to you. How did ganja become, going back to the beginning now, how did ganja become so entwined in the vibes of Rasta, the essence of Rasta?
Well, some people actually don't know, but because the plant has been around much longer than Rastafari has been around. Rastafari has just started in 1930 or 32. With Leonard Howell and Hibbert, but the herb ganja has been around for thousands of years, and you can read about it in Chinese writing dating back 5,000-6,000 years ago, Indian writing about 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. So Rasta in Jamaica, or people in Jamaica from a couple hundred years ago, have been smoking ganja in Jamaica, found it very helpful for meditation and other purposes. And it just became a part of Rastafari culture, but I think it was a Jamaican cultural thing that just got into the Rastafari movement. Now, that being said, there are many mansions of Rastafari, and not all of them use ganja as a sacrament, so-called, like the politicians like to tell you. So the ones that do, fine with them, and the ones that don't, it's fine with them also. So we should always remember that there are some Rastafari mansions that do not use ganja.
Yeah, it's so funny you said people use it to meditate. I don't know that people meditate in Jamaica other than when they're smoking.
And I just want to add that there was a lot of persecution of Rastas related to use of the plant. So, they carried a large burden where other individuals from other faiths and cultures were using the plant the same way, but because either the color of their skin or their faith center, they could do it, or the fact that they cloaked their usage, they didn't have the persecution that Rastas had, where they were beaten in the streets. And in Jamaica, where people would think, oh, it should be liberal there and accepted, it's not. There's still a tremendous amount of stigma, but it's a huge victory to see where we are right now, where marijuana is recognized for sacramental purposes.
How did it become illegal in the first place? Why was it made illegal?
In the United States, it became illegal. It has to do with money and power and the emergence of plastics to replace hemp and things like that. So the individuals that had power aligned hemp with marijuana. They used racism to try to make it illegal and stigmatize. They created a whole campaign called Reefer Madness in order to stigmatize the plant, and that's how it became illegal in the first place. They aligned it with migrant workers from Mexico, hence the name marijuana versus cannabis. So that's just really how it became illegal.
In America,
it came down to it just came down to prejudice and power.
So that's what became illegal in America, but in Jamaica, in Mexico,
they just follow the momentum of the United States. Even with where we are right now, there is opportunity for the Caribbean to break free of how America perceives, the plant. And when you look at a country or a city like Amsterdam, which is known for having a legal marijuana industry for decades. So I was living in Europe 2005 to 2008. I went to Amsterdam many times. I was given a menu in a safe space of a cafe, chose whatever herb I wanted to partake in, smoked there in the cafe or on the street, and it was not a problem. This is a long time ago. Then you look at, the Caribbean, the cradle of cannabis, where we could have had that economic boost. We could use it. But because of the stigma, we couldn't take advantage of it. We should have broken free a long time ago and created a legal industry for and marijuana tourism to fuel our economy, our education system, our roads. There's just there are legitimate reasons why, Minister Chuck, the Minister of Justice, has spoken. We've been on panels together, and he spoke about why they have to kind of be in tune with the United States, a lot of economic reasons, et cetera, and so on. But I think we missed the opportunity for that independence. We missed the opportunity to really become the Amsterdam of, this side of the world. I'm gonna push a little bit more on the approach that it was about discrimination. Are there not legitimate, Dr. Hall, reasons that marijuana would have been criminalized? You said reefer madness. Is there actually a side effect of mental instability happening because of marijuana, or are there medical reasons?
No,
why it was made illegal?
Back in the 1930s in the U.S., attorney is correct. It was an economic push. Cannabis was on the pharmacopoeia. It was a prescribed drug that doctors could use for certain ailments at the turn of the last century, 1900. And in 1934, the administration decided to just change things. It was mostly for economic reasons. As she said, trying to malign Mexicans, trying to malign Black people in the inner cities that were then becoming quite large in America. So no, there was no special list of side effects or complications that cannabis had versus any other medication that was being used by doctors.
So when they're calling it now a gateway drug, that's
That's a fallacy.
That's a fallacy. That's a phrase and a term that's used just to malign it.
Right.
It's not really a gateway to anything. And you can look, for example, in Jamaica, where and other places like Amsterdam, cannabis has been used for decades and decades. It didn't lead to a gateway to anything.
And now we have the history of, in this country, states such as California, states such as Colorado, where they have a legal cannabis industry. Now, of course, we do recommend, if we're looking at it from a medicinal perspective, engagement of a doctor who is a recommending physician, so you can have those discussions. There are conversations about, is marijuana the best choice for someone who is predisposed to schizophrenia? And there's research that is that's being contemplated right now. Some of the projects we're working on include working with universities to look at, sickle cell, which affects people of color, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's, autism, and really in a clinical environment take a look at what the effects are. But the assumption that it creates mad people. I was at the Caribbean Neuroscience Symposium in Jamaica at Half Moon, I guess it was January 25th to the 28th. And, there were medical physicians who still believe that, marijuana makes you mad. But then on the other side, which was refreshing, there were a lot of physicians who were saying, we do respect and acknowledge it as an alternative medicine. We are looking at it. We do have patients that we are recommending. We'd like to see it go from a last resort after, we've gone through the pharmaceuticals and people are getting more and more sick. And then you say, hey, have you tried cannabis?
Right.
We want it to be one of the first options presented.
Yeah.
I have a good friend of mine recently, I saw her, and she's, my age, and she's walking with a cane. She has a number of health issues, and as a last resort, her doctor said, have you considered medical? We've tried everything else. Have you considered medical marijuana? It's changed her life. Why does she have to go through pain, agony, loss, humiliation before she's presented with the option of medical marijuana? And my last point to that question is we were talking about, marijuana as a gateway drug. And Dr. Uma, I'm sure you're familiar with her out of Massachusetts, always says that it's an exit drug. Because when we look at the addiction issues that we have in this country, and I'll let Dr. Hall speak more to that. When we look at the opioid addiction issues, cannabis, CBD as well as marijuana, because I do work in the CBD space as in-house counsel for Green Roads World, one of the largest CBD companies. We have all these people saying, thank you for our product. Thank you so much. You changed my life. I'm 14 days clean. I'm 30 days clean. I'm 60 days
What is
clean.
CBD?
It's cannabidiol.
Okay.
So it is the cannabis plant, both the hemp plant as well as the marijuana plant, they have about 130 cannabinoids. The two main cannabinoids are THC and CBD. And again, I'll let Dr. Hall speak more to the science of the endocannabinoid system and our receptors and how we mirror the plant. But CBD is a cannabinoid like THC, but it doesn't have the psychoactive effect. So it doesn't make you high. It is medicinal. But again, even with that, you need to make sure you know what you're taking, that you go with a reputable company, that you look at the analytics of the product to make sure that what they say on their bottle is exactly what you're getting. And, we have so many people who've had breakthroughs, gotten off prescription medications. There was a gentleman in our office, because the warehouse is right here in Davie, Florida. And his mother had, so many health issues, was on prescription drugs. And I'd met her maybe about 6 months ago, and she's on our sponsors list, so we sponsor patients a lot of the time. And then I met her, and she looked ill, but she was starting to take our product. I saw her last week, completely different woman. I was like, you found the fountain of youth.
Right. Dr. Hall, do you want to talk about some of the additional health benefits, like legit health benefits of ganja?
Well, medicinally speaking, we're covering about 160 diseases right now. Cannabis, as Attorney Cheryl pointed out, cannabis has right now about 140 cannabinoids, which are components, and maybe another 130 terpenes, which are additional components, which also have medical effects. So what happens is it's as good as your processing lab, you know, how your extraction goes, and as good as the breeder and the cultivator can make a strain geared towards one side or the other side. And you have a lot of science that's developing in that field. So, for example, if you're looking for someone with, or if you're treating someone with more of a seizure disorder, like a petit mal seizure or absence seizure, you're looking more for a CBD product with a very low ratio of THC. But if it's someone with a brain cancer that has recurred, you might be looking for more of an even mix between THC and CBD. My kids that I'm treating with autism, which is one of my favorite diseases to treat because it has such a dramatic response, I'm looking for almost like a 5-to-1 or 4-to-1 ratio of CBD to THC. And it's different for every disease. So it's not like they say you can just go to a ganja spa or a ganja bar and just pick up some herb and smoke. Really, for medicinal care, you need a doctor who's trained, who's familiar with the product, who believes in it in the first place. That's why you become interested to learn about it. And you have to study pharmacology just like you go to med school and study pharmacology to treat hypertension. There's not just one drug for blood pressure out there, there are about 300. So you better learn the 300 drugs. And so many and varied. Many and varied, and many diseases. Now, not every single thing can be treated by ganja. So, you know, we're not treating hypertension. And so,
and all the CBD and the THC, don't try and self-diagnose. Now, go and talk to a doctor, call Dr. Hall, and get your prescription for
I mean, if I can touch on, for example, just sickle cell for a moment, because there's a disease that affects our people, our race. You know, my fiance is treated in this space too. And those patients have seen dramatic changes. They are no longer in the opioid mix and addicted to opioids when they can either use CBD or THC or combinations, and it's made a dramatic change in that field, in that disease.
Let me come back to Guinness, the center of this universe that we speak of.
I love the title.
Thank you. I want to point out that, you know, that they're the experts, and really my role really is really sharing, like learning from them, but also sharing the story so that people are aware of it. Like, this is a magazine we're catering to Caribbean people, of course. And I want us to really open our mind, because the stigmas, and as Cheryl was saying, we still have tremendous stigma. There's a lot of people who feel that it's wrong, that it should be illegal, because of, we've been brainwashed for a long time. But yes.
So talk on that. We have been brainwashed, and it's, you know, it's coming from the US, and it's because it's the darker skinned people or the Mexicans or whatever. In your research, talk a little bit more about where that came from, because I'm still not clear. It was the U.S. or what?
Well, I know that, and as you're saying, it happened. Both of you are saying in the United States a lot with the reefer madness, but from a Jamaican perspective, I think it was a lot from stigmas surrounding Rasta, right? Would you agree? And if you're in Jamaica in the 70s and 80s, like I was, and maybe you were there as well, there was a lot, and David, you're there, all of us.
I was just being born.
Yeah, you're just being born. So we heard it. It was like, when someone became Rasta, it was this controversial thing. And with Rasta was tied to smoking. And it was seen as something very negative. We have in Kingston maybe 5 what we call madmen. And there were always these stories about, you know, that guy was the top of his class at this top school. He started to smoke, and now he's a madman on the street.
Some bad weed.
And now he's a madman on the street. And then we have adopted that, so that, I mean, people who smoke in Jamaica, it was something very controversial, you know, something. So I would think overall as a culture, you have people who are like Rasta and people who are, say, allies who feel there's nothing wrong with it. But as a whole, I feel that a lot of the culture still feels there's something wrong. And as this shift here in America is like, hey, I want to encourage our cultures to also, not just because they're doing it, but that we should have been there already. We really should have. We really should have been there.
We're missing the beat.
Yeah, and another thing that's, and Shirley touched on it, that we've waited all this time. And the thing that really hurt me, was that, you know, we grew up in a poor country. Cultural poor, because we have all this wealth. We have all this wealth that we're not allowed to tap into. and we're waiting for America and the powers that be to say, okay, now maybe you can do this, maybe you can do that. And I would love to see that we'd be able to say, actually, no, just like California, because it's federally illegal, right? But California and some states have said, we're going to make it recreational legal, medicinal legal.
Right.
So I would love to see that Jamaica and other Caribbean countries can say, you know, we're not going to worry about the UN, this and that we can go forward and not be a country where children can't go to school, there's not good housing or education. We're surrounded by this precious plant and can't really prosper from it.
Right. Do you want to contribute something?
Well, this is the most painful thing I see like every month when I'm in Jamaica is the loss of the economic opportunity that ganja alone could bring to not just Jamaica but other Caribbean countries where it can grow. On a monthly basis, you have big, so-called big countries like Canada, Australia, Argentina, who are pushing hard their ganja development, racing at breakneck speed to become the best inventor of this strain, that strain. You have companies like Novartis Labs buying hundreds of acres, well, that would be thousands of acres of land, and to grow their own ganja, because they're gonna take it, put it into a pill form, and sell it, and they
synthesize it.
It's gonna become billions of dollars, and the small farmer in Jamaica is going to be hit with another revolution, and that revolution is how they lost out on the ganja industry.
And how they're probably going to be penalized if they do grow some ganja because they don't have the right licenses and the right...
That's where we're heading. It's starting in
the
a very
licensing process
pharmaceutical...
in Jamaica is very confused. I mean, I'm in the midst of it. Our companies have been in the midst of it for years, and I can't really say we've won. You have over 500 applicants and 3 licenses.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
All right. As you're watching, one second. If you're watching, I see David looking at the questions over here. I think we're gonna have. There's so much to unpack here. We're gonna keep talking for about 10 more minutes, and then we're gonna go to some questions from the audience. So if you have the questions, please, if you're watching, also go ahead and hit share, hit like. Make sure you tell people that there's a fascinating conversation going on here, and we do want to see the questions. Post them to the Jamaicans.com. Chat stream or ours on Island Origins, just so we can see the questions. So you were going to say?
Yes, I'm sorry for interrupting. I was just going to say, just like Dr. Hall has said, there's Australia, there's all these countries, Canada. Not only are they running with this industry, they are running with this industry in Jamaica. They are approaching Jamaica. They're taking over and applying for licenses and trying to, I'm not going to say monopolize, but definitely have a strong influence on the Jamaican industry. So we have to be careful there that through our local culture saying it's bad, that we're discouraging business people to get involved. Our Jamaican business people from getting involved, and then you have all these Canadians and Australians. Nothing's wrong with that. That's the world is getting smaller, but we just need to be mindful and check on that. Also, there's the first dispensary is opening, the grand opening for Kaya Herb House is in Jamaica on March 10th. That's going to be huge. That's historical. So we need to celebrate that. And then the last part I was going to mention is, another part of this is it's an agricultural issue. And in the article, Annette mentions her friend, David's friend, my business partner, Billy Reynolds, and we always talk about the fact that when you look at the Caribbean, and when you look, and it's true for Africa too, and you look at the amount of raw materials that are available, and how we sell our raw, and we don't go to the next step of learning how to process and get to the finished product where the most profitability is. That's where we need to get a brain trust. And as Colorado, California, all these experts, and there are a lot of experts that look just like us too, and a lot of experts of the diaspora. We need to make sure that we are educating our farmers. Even I work with UTech in Jamaica on a few things as far as they're doing case studies with our CBD products, and they're about to do some clinical trials with marijuana as well as hemp. But just looking at how we educate farmers, even housekeepers so they can cultivate, and things like that, because we have a helper culture. But it's just so critical and important that we educate on, the extraction machines, understanding that coming out. How do you get to the oils? How do you get to the vape? Even the hardware of vape pens, and making sure that we're not excluded from that and left into the strictly agricultural farmer space. We have an issue where the
ancillary products that go along with
products,
it.
and also some things that intrigue the next generation. So, as a farmer, what do you want? You want your children to be lawyers, doctors, scientists, etc., and so on. Still encourage them, but have them recognize that agricultural essence of what we are needs their professional skills as well.
Right.
And that's when we're really going to find our strength, is when we appreciate our history and our farming and our agriculture, and we take it to the next level as far as processing and getting to finished goods.
That sounds like some of your kind of headhunters things that I want to come back to and talk about, because that sounds very interesting where you're going. But I want to touch on something that Guinette says in her article. She talks about Dr. Lowe, what's his first name? Henry Lowe, who is a medical expert on ganja, has been processing it since the 1970s. He says our government is tiptoeing to even allow medicinal and scientific research. The whole thing is very slow in terms of getting off the ground. So we're talking about processing, and he's had challenges down there trying to create his canasol or his his glaucoma medications what are the challenges that you're seeing, and where are we at getting past those at this point for the medical development of ganja in Jamaica?
There needs to be better communication between the CLA, the Cannabis Licensing Authority, and the different ministry agencies that they want to work with, such as the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Labor, the Bureau of Standards, the National Environmental Planning Agency. Those 5, and probably the Ministry of Industry, Science and Technology, but those 6 should be talking to the people in the commercial space, in the agricultural space, and actually talking to each other. They don't talk to each other. They send the applicants to run around and do the linkage between the 5 ministries when they should be doing the linkage.
I want to acknowledge Dr. Henry Lowe, because he's been doing this work for decades, and in writing this article, I kind of mini-stalked him. I got help to connect with him, and he sat with me, and we spent hours. He's just amazing. He's, I think, genius.
I was just stalked him too when I was in Jamaica.
Okay, good.
So he liked you very much.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, thank you, Dr. Lowe. And he is really genius, and he has done so much work. And he talked about it, and everybody please read the article. But he talked about that challenge of when he started in the 70s, that he had pressure to not pursue it. So
still has pressure.
And still has pressure, and he has now a patent for medication that's worth, I think, like billions or billion.
Yes, absolutely.
And he's been offered a few million.
Of course.
So yes, I just wanted to go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Lowe is one of my mentors. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him.
Is it his place? That's the Kaya Hub House.
No, he has the Eden Gardens.
Right.
Kaya is Mr. Vaswani. Vaswani.
Where is that? Just in case anybody wants some. Where's St. Anne's? If you want something.
But March 10th, there's Kamani Marley's going to be there. There's going to be all types of activities. So that's a huge victory for Jamaica. Congratulations to Mr. Vaswani and to Jamaica, and for the CLA for getting that right.
I hope they issued their license, because as of last week, they still didn't get their license.
There's I think there's been a change of guard in the CLA as well, so we'll look to see what happens. There's a new CEO, right? Female.
Well, now it's Ms. Staples. Mrs. Staples, the female CEO, has been replaced by Mr. Staples.
Okay, excellent. Okay, and then also the Ministry of Health may have had some transitions too. So the leadership is changing. The guard is changing. We're optimistic that they've been listening to the feedback from an expert such as Dr. Lowe, and also what's been written in the newspaper. So I always put my money on Jamaica regardless. And I know we're gonna get where we need to be. We have enough talent and ingenuity, intelligence within the island and throughout the diaspora to really make sure that we can leverage those skills and make it the best thing for Jamaica.
Two more quick questions I want to get in, and then we can go to the questions from the audience.
Yes.
When ganja was such a stigmatized thing for all of this time, how has it become so valuable? Is it because it was contraband that it's become so valuable? And if it's legalized, is it still going to hold that same value?
It's still stigmatized, but the value came, I think, and this is just my opinion, Dr. Hawley, I'm going to acquiesce to your expertise. But when we saw the research coming out of Israel, as far as the medicinal value of marijuana, I think that's when the tide changed. People of all cultures have been using it for years. Uptown people, downtown people, marijuana in Jamaica and throughout the world is across economic boundaries and across generational boundaries. So you have the grannies making tea, then you have the parents when they're socially active, and then you have the young people also involved. But it's the stigma of the youth in the street or the Rastas that you see over and over and over again. There's a cool factor to the stigma.
Right.
So it's challenging. All of that contributes to the value of the plant, and it's sought after, and anything forbidden will have a higher value, anything in the black market. But a legal industry starves the cartels. A legal industry, the most important thing that a legal industry does is it preserves quality of product.
Right.
It ensures that you know what you're getting. For a patient with certain types of cancers, if they buy a product that has mold, mildew, that's a death sentence. That's a death sentence. We have a responsibility. We know it heals. And if they're reading articles and they're doing research like, I want to live. This is marijuana. It seems like it's helped other people. Let me get some. They shouldn't have to go to a back alley to get something that they've seen has worked for other people with their same chronic condition. Right. We need to create a safe, legal environment where there's legitimate testing, where these individuals can get the healing. Right. We have a concept called canna refugees. These are patients and parents of patients. They leave where they live. They leave their families to go to Colorado to get access to medicinal marijuana, that they know what they're getting, that there's a label on the packaging. Why is that happening in 2018? It's a shame.
It is.
And I call that wellness privilege, because the people who are making the rules, they may not have been affected by that. There's an island I'm not going to mention, and one of the leadership, like maybe in the 90s, 80s, strictly against it. And then recently there was a town hall forum, and then like a Rasta asked him, hey, you were fighting against this. What's the change? Why do you change your mind? He's like, let me just say that I'm older and wiser now, right? But in truth, and he shared, his daughter has an issue. You know what I'm talking about. His daughter has a chronic condition, and that's the only thing that was able to help her. So do we have to be sick ourselves, or have our family members sick for us to be open to it? Or can we have compassion for the people that are struggling?
It seems that that's the way of the world now. Do we have questions?
We do have, the question that we do have that's here is not really on topic. I'm usually one of the most talkative people on the live, and I have said nothing because I'm so grateful for the information being shared. So I've been very respectful and quiet. But I do want to ask a few things that are burning in my chest. And I think the first thing that I would like to just ask up front, and because we talk about what has been taught to us, and that there are some misconceptions being perpetrated on our intellect by these things. What's the truth about, and I'm going to say cannabis, because even just learning about the way that the words were used and the history to create prejudice. So when we talk about cannabis, what is physically bad about using? What does it do bad to us, and what does it do good for us? If we can get a clear explanation so that the people watching can understand what is cannabis, what are the positives and what are the negatives? Can we?
I'll let Dr. Hall start.
I'll start with the negatives first. I mean, first of all, if you're smoking cannabis, you put in heat in your lungs. So if you have a respiratory disorder, you're not helping yourself by smoking or in bringing in burnt products into your lungs. So it is a good idea, if you're taking medicinal cannabis, that you're not smoking it as your method of delivery.
So just a follow up on that. So you said smoking it, but if I if I get it through a chalice or something else, does that make it better, or is it only if I put it to my lips? Like you say, smoking. Give me a little more
That's
understanding.
smoking, so it should,
any kind of smoking is still.
It should not be hot coming in.
So like the vape.
The vape is not hot.
Okay.
So vaping is the way to get an inhalational type of cannabis without the heat, without any tar, without any nicotine products, such as that.
Okay.
So
And then there are teas.
Teas are okay. So teas, capsules, creams, sublingual oils, transrectal, transvaginal, all those other ways, transnasal,
Transdermal, edibles.
are right. Well, not edibles. Let me not include edibles. Those are all good and scientific ways. So why would we not include edibles? Because absorption of THC and CBD and the other cannabinoids through your gastrointestinal tract is irregular. The timing is off. So if we're dealing in strict medical medication, we're using pharmacologic timing, like you take something every 4 hours or every 6 hours, 8 hours, because they know the time course of absorption and decay. And with edibles, it's bound in your stomach and you don't know when the absorption starts or when it ends, which is the source of the most common overdoses and deaths are overdosing on edibles, because you can pop 6 brownies in your stomach, but you didn't start digesting them as you timed them and you thought you were eating them. They sat in your stomach until you decided to go into the right down position, and then suddenly all of them start being absorbed all at once, and to that. So I agree with Florida in removing edibles from a method of cannabis delivery, but
well, it's been added now, so now edibles are added.
Right,
And
even now flower can be dry vaped in Florida now. So we're gonna see change because people want all the choice. But there's a difference between recreational and medical cannabis, and there will always be. So on this one issue that has come up before, which created a bit of confusion, person with bipolar disorder or manic depression. Can cannabis trigger that person into a manic phase? Yes, there is some evidence that a person who has bipolar disorder, who is predisposed to bipolar disorder, taking certain sativa strains of cannabis can be triggered into a manic phase. But does cannabis help the depressive phase? Yes. So you have to be followed by your doctor. You have to be prescribed, and you have to know what you're getting. You can't go on the street, right, and buy any cannabis if you have bipolar disorder, and that's your madman in Jamaica.
Right. I was thinking that.
Because most of the ones who cannot function are bipolar and in a manic phase, and yet they might get some ganja. So that's why that association.
I love that clarification. I do want to just say to the audience watching, we understand that there's a delay, and I really apologize for that. Bear with us. There's nothing we can do. So if our speaking and the video don't sync completely, don't worry about it. Just listen to the words of what we're saying. The words are the most important part. And
watch it on silent first and then listen to it.
We're looking like a karate movie right now?
We're looking like a karate movie. So apparently, and I thank you for those who have shared that comment. Now, there are quite a few comments. And I do want to say here,
I'm going to make a comment. There's a cookbook called Cooking with Herb by Cedella Marley. You're talking about the ingesting the edibles, so just wanted to throw that.
Yeah, and also on the edibles, I definitely agree with Dr. Hall, but I do think that there are some patients that, and I've heard anecdotally, that there's some patients that's the best delivery system for them. So I do believe in giving people options. I think it's an education issue. It's usually people who are new to the game, or the people who are creating or cooking the edibles are overdoing it. So I think from a provider perspective and also from a consumer perspective, there's education when it comes to edibles that you're used to eating a whole chocolate bar. In this environment, don't eat a whole chocolate bar. You take microdosing, and they are so good, and that's where people end up in the hospital. But Dr. Hall mentioned overdosing. I tend to say that we don't have overdosing in cannabis, but I guess for me, it's more we don't have the fatalities. So I understand where you're coming from with using that language.
So the overdose doesn't lead to death.
Well, it may lead to here's an example from Colorado. A student at a party ate too many edibles and he got somewhat tipsy and he fell off a balcony.
Okay.
So he died.
Okay.
But did he die from cannabis overdose or falling off the balcony?
And could that have happened with alcohol
Right.
or prescription drugs or it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when we're looking at other self-medicating or prescription medicating, we don't compare side effect to side effect. If we compare side effect to side effect, cannabis will win hands down. What's the side effect of you may get drowsy, you may get hungry. Those are the side effects where cannabis is concerned. But when you look at prescription medicine, like you watch the commercials, it's like a whole
things.
list.
Yeah.
So that's what I like for us to do, for the scientists to start doing and the advocates and physicians to start saying, really comparing side effect to side effects, because with the prescription approach, usually someone's put on a medication and then they have side effects. They get another medication to treat the side effects, and then they get constipated. Then they get a medication to treat their constipation, and it's a never-ending cycle. And then they have to increase as their tolerance increases, and then we have addiction issues, which sometimes unfortunately leads to death. And that's why we want cannabis to be not the last resort, but one of the alternatives, the options that are available.
Excellent. I'll mention there are a couple comments. One coming from Adrian Clark, who says, to Cheryl's point, so many ancillary products and careers in the cannabis industry. South Florida native and LA-based chef Andrea Drummer recently published a cookbook memoir about her career change and shifting in perspective about cannabis. Was an eye-opener for her. Thank you very much for that. Also, there's another person who says here, very important subject, especially when it comes to black men. Discussion is important, but where are the lobbyists who are in support of these men who are incarcerated for small amounts of ganja? Who will set them free?
That's a
Any comments?
Tons of comments, but we only have an hour here. But one, we are present. I am General Counsel of Minorities for Medical Marijuana. That's one of the main things we lobby for is equity and ensuring that ex-felons have an opportunity to participate in the business opportunity. We support the Cory Booker Marijuana Justice Act, which is calling for full legalization, full decriminalization, and also reparations in the sense of releasing people who are incarcerated for marijuana crimes. You'll see more days than not I'm wearing heritage garments myself, and that is always to trigger the conversation to discuss the wrongly incarcerated people of color. So that's why I changed in the past year to wearing African attire that's attributed with people of color, just to start the conversation. So we are lobbying. These are conversations. Roz McCarthy is our founder, based in Orlando, and she's in Tallahassee every single week, working with legislators. Working with legislators. We lobby on a federal level, and we lobby on a state level in order to remedy the length of sentences, the disparity there, just the stops in the beginning, the profiling associated with it, the charges, the whole system is geared against people of color. And people don't think it's set up that way in premise. You have to look at the collateral damage and the statistics, and it's very clear. So we are lobbying every single day, and we're having the conversations every single day to recognize the fact that there are disparities in the treatment of users, consumers of cannabis, and also people as far as having possession of cannabis.
Right. So we only have like a few minutes left. Can you just put the name of your website so if people want to learn more?
Yes, absolutely. Go to medicalmarijuana.org. My staffing agency, you can go to www.headhunters.org. For Green Roads, if you want CBD, which doesn't make you high, as an alternative, or to investigate it, is www.greenroadsworld.com. And general CBD information, you can go to whatiscbd.com, and there's a tremendous amount of information there.
Also, Doc, please share any information. Are you participating in any non-profits or in any awareness campaigns? Or I know there's some walk, run, marathon, something coming up you should be telling us about. Tell us a little bit about what there is that you are involved in as well.
With the National Medical Association, which is, of course, the medical association that's fighting for Black physicians and Black patients and patients who are patients of color and maybe not included in the mainstream in America since 1895. We are sponsoring for the 11th year Walk a Mile with a Child. It was founded by Dr. Nelson Adams in Overtown 11 years ago. It will be May 5th in Gibson Park. Awesome. The primary main aim is to promote awareness of childhood obesity, which is a serious disease. I'm going to call it a serious disease in our community, and also health and fitness. So it's 8 a.m. to 12 noon, Gibson Park, which is on Northwest 12th Street in Overtown. We always stay in Overtown. We walk 1 mile. Yes. Overtown is now gentrified. Can I use that? Okay. Overtown is now gentrified, so come down and buy it up, people. Come and buy up your piece of Overtown before it all disappears, and support the kids.
I want to make sure that we talk about, just I know we have a few minutes, where people can get the magazine, and in person and online, and make sure people read the article.
I'm going to tell you something. We printed 20,000 copies. I mean, about 10,000 are still in David's apartment. But there's a few. We still have a few, but everything that we gave to the distributors has gone out already, and I think it's done. So I don't know. We're hoping people can get some more.
Actually, interestingly, about distribution, even just today, the distributors are like, we need more because yes, they are done.
They're done. Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Obviously, people love the magazine and they're picking it up in drones. I would tell you the easiest places to find the magazine is in your doctor's office, in your lawyer's office, as well as municipalities. You can go to City of Lauderhill, City of Miramar. You can get your, they're available. Also,
and one of our official distribution partners is Golson Spine. So right now you can get your copies, and of course they're in North Lauderdale, they're in Lauderhill, they're in Pines, and they're in Aventura. All the locations don't have it just yet. By next week they will, but you can get it right now in Lauderhill, and they will always have, right? So if you want to become an official distribution partner of ours, because people will take the magazine and they'll come back to you for it, go ahead and give us a call at, do I give the 954?
Yeah, sure, 954-200-5110. If you're interested in distribution, do let us know. If you have a physical location that can handle distribution, let us know. But honestly, if it's something that you're going to get a lot of people, because the magazines cannot stay on the shelf.
It's sexier than sexy, man. That's how sexy it is.
That's right. There's a lot of quality.
And it's so
high quality publication.
Yeah, man. It feels like butter.
Yeah. And I'm going to say, this is something that so impacts our community, and I don't think that we really talk about it enough. So I'm glad you guys gave us the platform to have this discussion. It's really important,
Let me add, the magazine also is available in Jamaica. So those of you in Jamaica who are watching, they are available at
Carmen's Collection. Well, we're in room. I don't believe they have them yet, but they're going to be in room at the Pegasus, the Courtly, and the Knutsford Court hotels in room, and probably in the lobby. And then you can go by Carmen's Collection and possibly the two Pastry Passions locations. So at Sovereign Center and at Hope Road.
Hope Road.
Okay. All right. But yeah, again, say again.
Also on
yeah, absolutely. IslandOriginsMag.com. Which, of course, Nikki, we know you're going to share. Nikki Lopez, creative here, working with us.
Yes, it's not fully up yet, but the gentrification of ganja article, what we've been talking about all evening, is up right now on the front page, so you can go ahead and read it. Yeah. Fascinating article, and please do in our comments and stuff, just give your questions to Guinness after you read the article. Just tag her in there, whatever. Sure. On the website, whatever. Do we have any other pressing questions before we wrap it up?
Let's see what we have on here.
While you're looking for a pressing question, I'm just going to go ahead and read through our upcoming events. Calle Ocho and Carnival are happening. I believe I think it's this weekend in Little Havana. Jamaican Women of Florida Empowerment Conference is happening March 17th, and that's the morning and the daytime. Jazz in the Gardens, March 17th and 18th in the evening. Of course, you can find their ad right here on the inside front cover or inside of the magazine. So all the Anita Baker, Chaka Khan, Rocky Chaka Khan.
Smokey Robinson. What?
Yeah, it's a great lineup.
Of course,
every year it's a great lineup.
If you'd like to get magazines, we'll be there as well.
Okay, nice.
Okay.
Fantastic. Joe. Yeah, Joe.
No, it's a really good lineup this year. True Blue Weekend. This was a thing because Xavier kept saying Jamaica College old boys and what it was.
Past students.
Yeah, all right.
No,
So they're doing True Blue Weekend April 6th and 7th, and then of course I have to. Walk a Mile with a Child. Dr. Hall's event is happening on May 5th in Overtown. And of course, we have to plug our own Taste the Islands experience happening June 2nd, right here in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, at the Historical Society.
Yes.
So please go online. We'll give you more information on that as it gets closer. Any pressing?
No. Lots of comments. Great topic, things like that. Really, really great magazine.
Yes,
Just saw
thank
it.
you. I made it myself. Kidding. Listen, I need to do the plug for this. This really was a team effort. Thanks to our editor, Nick Lashley. Thanks to our designer, Daryl, I forget his Nagil from Trinidad. Nick is in New York. We had writers from London. We had writers from here in South Florida. We had people from all over the country and all over the world really contributing to this magazine. And so it gives the perspective of the Caribbean American community, not just the Jamaicans. We are Jamaicans, but there's people representing Trinidad, Bahamas, just all over Dominican Republic, Haiti. Of course, Wycliffe was on the cover, and I have to say it was great meeting him. So I just put that in there. All right.
Great.
So thank you. Thank you all for watching. Next week, they say you can't escape two things: death and taxes. We don't want to talk about death. So we are going to talk about taxes, how you can, your best practices, how to keep more of your money, how to deduct all those children that you have, all that wonderful stuff. We will be joined by Wolf Thomas and another guest yet to be confirmed. Please do follow us on Island Origins, Facebook.com @Island Origins. All of our social media is Island Origins. Check out Ganette's article live on the site right now.
Gentrification of ganja.
The gentrification of ganja, and I think that's it, right?
That's it. Yeah, thank you all for bearing with us.
This is David.
I know it's been a tough one with the video and audio syncing, but please still share.
Yeah.
Still come back next week. We'll see everybody. Thank you to our guests.
Thank you.
And
It's
to our
an honor to be here. Thank you to my
co-host
son for behaving for the whole
Yes.
show, Judah. Shout out to Judah.
Definitely. Shout out to Judah again, to Nikki Lopez Creative.
Nikki